87th Surah of the Quran. So the last portion of it is قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ تَزَكَّى. The one who glorifies himself is successful. Successful are those who glorify themselves. وَذَكَرَ اسْمَ رَبِّهِ فَصَلَّى. And the one who remembers his Lord, his Rabb, and offers praise. However, you prefer the worldly life, and the hereafter is better and everlasting. Indeed, this was in the earlier scriptures, the scriptures of Ibrahim and Musa alayhim as-salatu was-salam. So, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ تَزَكَّى. Successful are those who purify themselves. Now, to purify oneself in Islam, the biggest change or the biggest purity, the highest level of purity will be a person who purifies himself or herself from disbelief, from kufr. That is the biggest and highest purity a person can attain in Islam. That a person totally eliminates disbelief from the heart. That is why some of the mufassirin, the commentators have mentioned, here man tazakka means that one who has testified, who has said the kalima la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, he has purified himself an dhulmat al-kufr, from the darkness of disbelief. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ تَزَكَّى. Imam Ibn Kathir rahimahullah and others have mentioned there are more layers to purifying oneself than this level. This is the most important level, and it is the greatest level of purity. But it is also at the same time the foundational level of purity. That a person leaves disbelief and enters into belief, enters into Islam, believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, Imam al-Tabri has mentioned, وَحَّدَ اللَّهِ. He has believed in the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and removed every remnant of shirk, of ascribing partners to Allah from his heart. Purified. So, attaching the heart. Honda Civic, MK11. Purifies the heart totally from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the false beliefs that people attach to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the highest form of purity. But once a Muslim has attained this level of purity, then to carry on, once a person has attained this level of purity and then has carried on improving and refining oneself. So Al-Imam Ibn Kathir after that mentions that thereafter to remove what in Arabic he calls al-akhlaq al-radila, all lowly characteristics. Lowly characteristics, to remove oneself from that, away from that, to purify the heart from these traits, qualities, characteristics. And then to adopt what they call al-akhlaq al-hamida, beautiful character, beautiful traits, beautiful qualities. That's also a part of Islam. So ulama now, they talking about al-akhlaq al-radila, lowly qualities, and akhlaq al-hamida, beautiful qualities, adopting them. Normally people will think to be kind, to be nice, to be generous, isn't it? They're the qualities people think. But before that, what creates these actions? What creates these actions? So what creates beautiful actions is actually a beautiful inner state, what we call the heart. So if a person purifies the heart, that is what they really deem as removing lowly qualities. For example, what they refer to as lowly qualities is to purify oneself from anger. Why does a person lash out? Why is a person violent? Why does a person oppress another? Because of this quality of anger. That is why a person reacts. So instead of focusing on the outer action, what produced that action that's what we are supposed to remove. The lowly characteristic in the heart of anger. Just given a few examples, is another one is jealousy. Hasad is also a lowly quality. And because of this lowly quality of having jealousy in the heart for another person, then other actions are now created. Only when a person has jealousy in the heart, then they maybe wish to harm another, deprive another. The action is produced because of the quality. And the quality is what we have to remove. Ji, but Billahi chana. Billahi chana. Tai chana. So, continuing on, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ تَزَكَّى. To lower the heart from these lowly qualities is when a believer will be more successful. A believer will be more successful. So many a times, like I mentioned, qualities which a person has in the heart. Jealousy, hatred, miserliness. That is when a person won't give. And then will make excuses that this is why we don't give. This is why we don't give. But the original problem is that the person has this quality of miserliness in the heart. A person is jealous, that is why he wishes to harm another person or deprive another person. A person is angry all the time. That is why a person lashes out. So to remove these lowly qualities from the heart, that is how a person will attain success. That is how a person will attain success. So قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ تَزَكَّى وَذَكَرَ اسْمَ رَبِّهِ فَصَلَّى. So now when you have this quality, when you have purified yourself from shirk, from kufr, from disbelief, and thereafter you have accepted Islam, accepted Iman, believed in Allah as He ought to be believed in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as He is meant, and as He is meant to be believed in, meaning His prophethood, and then to love both of them. Thereafter, removing evil qualities, lowly qualities from the heart. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ تَزَكَّى وَذَكَرَ اسْمَ رَبِّهِ فَصَلَّى. Then to remember Allah. To remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to pray, and to offer prayer. Now these two are mentioned, but what's meant? So some of the ulama have mentioned قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ تَزَكَّى وَذَكَرَ اسْمَ رَبِّهِ فَصَلَّى. That first a person removes everything besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the heart. Meaning the love of everything should be lower than the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when a person loves other things, example, family, children, etc., then we love them for the sake of Allah. We love them for the sake of Allah. But when we love something or somebody for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then it will be a balanced love. It will be a love that is balanced. So to love everything else, whether it's person's wife, person's parents, siblings, children, etc., friends, colleagues, then that love is for the sake of Allah. That love is for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then a person won't go wrong. When the love of other things is greater or separate from the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that will cause problems. So example, it will be time to perform a duty of Islam, example, to give zakah. But your love of wealth is more than your love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so you will refrain from giving zakah. Or a person will have enough money to go for Hajj, and will be ready to go for Hajj, and it is possible they can book, but then they will think, you know what, let me book a holiday instead. So the book for enjoyment, the love for enjoyment is more than the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Same with salah, which occurs every day. It is salah time. Allah will be most pleased with a person who attends the salah in congregation. But then a person instead goes gym, or a person does something else in that same time. When we could work around the salah time. It is not to not love anything else, but it is to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more than everything else. More than everything else. So this is the balance. So وَذَكَرَ اسْمَ رَبِّهِ, to remember Allah so much because of His love. So to empty everything besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the heart, and then by remembering Allah, to love Allah more than everything else. And then naturally when a person will love Allah more than anything else, فَصَلَّى, he will perform his prayers, he will perform every action and every duty which Allah obligates upon him. Then this person will obviously be successful. But why doesn't this happen? Why doesn't this happen? Why doesn't a person purify themselves? Why doesn't a person perform salah? Why doesn't a person remember Allah abundantly? Why doesn't a person love Allah more than everything else? بَلْ تُؤْثِرُونَ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا, however you prefer the worldly life. So every time we have to make a decision. Shall we love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more? Shall we do for Allah what He wants at this moment? Or shall we do something petty because of our love for this lowly world? So every time, if we wish to purify ourselves, and we wish to build the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then what we will have to do actually is to prefer Allah and the hereafter, the reward in the hereafter, more than the temporary enjoyments of this world. That's a decision everybody has to make every day, at different moments. At different moments. So the simple and most simple example is of salah. So a person, the Fajr time comes in. Now does a person prefer rest and sleep, or will they sacrifice that sleep and rest to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So it's a decision at all times. Shall I choose Allah, or shall I choose the temporary enjoyment of sleep, the temporary enjoyment of eating, the temporary enjoyment of maybe watching football or cricket or going gym, whatever. Sometimes what will happen is a person will think to himself, okay, I got work actually. I got work, so I can't wake up for Fajr. So many people I have spoke to mention this. I have work in the morning, it is quite early, so I'm not going to wake up for Fajr Salah. They have no intention to wake up, there's no alarm or nothing. So that is preferring, imagining. It's an imagination, mashallah, everybody goes work here, isn't it? Everybody goes work, but they'll still wake up and sacrifice. For the sake of Allah, they'll wake up for Fajr. But there are so many who cannot accept that if I wake up for Fajr, I might not go back to sleep, I'll be tired in work, and they make up scenarios. And because of this, they don't wake up for Fajr. They have no intention, no alarm, nothing. بَلْ تُؤْثِرُونَ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا. So Allah reminds us that do not prefer the worldly life over the everlasting hereafter. Over the everlasting hereafter. So قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ تَزَكَّى وَذَكَرَ اسْمَ رَبِّهِ فَصَلَّى بَلْ تُؤْثِرُونَ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا. Every single time we will choose to prefer this lowly world over obeying Allah, we will lose out. We will fail in purifying ourselves. We will fail in gaining the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the heart. That's the basic reason. So no matter if you sit in a bayan and Imam Sahib, very inspiring, he speaks and you get inspired, but you leave the masjid and then you choose a worldly decision over the love of Allah and His command, then we will always lose out and we will take a step backwards. So always imagine this in our minds. Every time I have to make a decision, every time I have to make a decision, if I choose the worldly life over Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'm taking a step back. Then the second time I choose the worldly life over Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I take another step back. So imagine how far we will get. So Allah reminds us, while you are doing this, وَالْآخِرَةُ خَيْرُ وَأَبْقَى. Remember that indeed the hereafter is better and everlasting. Two things. The hereafter is better and everlasting than this world. So every time you chose to disobey Allah for this lowly world, you forgot two things. Number one, if this world and the akhirah were both, example, 60 years. Example, this world and the akhirah were 60 years each, and you knew that. But you also know that the akhirah is only better. It's not longer, but it's better. Then an intelligent person would sacrifice a little of this world for the hereafter, because what we gain is better. What we gain is better. That's only the quality. Then the time, the quantity, وَأَبْقَى. The akhirah is everlasting on top of that. So not only is it better than this world, but it is also everlasting. This world is temporary. And when we talk about this world is temporary, we're not talking about the lifespan of the entire existence or creation, the earth, etc. We're talking about our lifespan. And our lifespan can be very short. Our lifespan can be another day, another 10 days, another 20 days, another year, another 5 years, another 20, 30, 40 years, isn't it? So imagine how short, what Allah is saying here. وَالْآخِرَةُ خَيْرُ وَأَبْقَى. Because we don't really care about after I die and 2-3 generations. We don't know what's going to happen, isn't it? So our life, we are preferring our short life over the akhirah, which Allah is saying is better, and it is everlasting. Whereas this world here is shorter, is very short. We don't even know how short it would be individually. And it is not better. What does it mean by not better? So ulama mentioned, when we look at the akhirah and the dunya and we compare the two, one thing is that no matter what enjoyment we have in this world. So example now, let's say after Isha, I'm not making the plan, but let's say we all go out to eat to the best restaurant in Manchester. Okay. But that doesn't mean now all the different pains in a person's heart and concerns in the mind will disappear. Isn't it? So many worries and so many difficulties each person goes through. Each person goes through in their daily life. Now who knows? One person might have a disabled child, another person might be in poverty, another person might be struggling to pay bills, another person can't digest properly, another person has asthma. So many issues. So even if we enjoy one side of life, we go for food, we go for dessert, we have a day out, but on the other hand, there are so many other things to worry about. So in this world, no matter how much you're enjoying yourself on one hand, there's an issue on the other side which we will ignore. We choose to ignore for that small amount of time. But so even no matter how much enjoyment there is, it is always mixed with some issue, some problem in this world. No matter who you are. No matter who you are. However, the akhirah is free from this other side. From concern, from anxiety. It is totally free. So enjoyment is enjoyment. Pure enjoyment. There is no issue to worry about, to be concerned about. So وَالْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ وَأَبْقَى, and it is everlasting. This world will end, but our life will end. That's what we have to focus on. بَلْ تُؤْثِرُونَ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ وَأَبْقَى. So this is what we have to remember, these two verses. I said in the previous talks, all the time what we have to remember is that this surah, Rasulullah ﷺ used to recite frequently by the command of Allah. And these two lines are key. بَلْ تُؤْثِرُونَ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ وَأَبْقَى. Remember these two verses. This world we are preferring over Allah's obedience, Allah's love, preferring it over the akhirah, Jannah. And what will be the consequence? We will miss out forever. We will miss out forever. Like it's mentioned above. وَيَتَجَنَّبُهَا الْأَشْقَى الَّذِي يَصْلَى النَّارَ الْكُبْرَى. You'll enter the greatest fire. Such a fire, ثُمَّ لَا يَمُوتُ فِيهَا وَلَا يَحْيَى. Nor will we die inside that fire, nor will we live. Like a statement among people is, some people have such a life, it is so wretched, you're not dying but you're not living also. You're just in pain.
You're not dying, but you can't call it life. And like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned, that فَيُقْضَى عَلَيْهِمْ لَا يُقْضَى عَلَيْهِمْ فَيَمُوتُوا. It will not be ordained by Allah that they die. وَلَا يُخَفَّفُ عَنْهُم مِّنْ عَذَابِهَا. Nor will there be a decrease in the punishment in Jahannam. No, it's just punishment over punishment, and it only increases. So we have to remember these two verses. بَلْ تُؤْثِرُونَ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ وَأَبْقَى. And this is not a message only for you Muslims. إِنَّ هَذَا لَفِي الصُّحُفِ الْأُولَى. This was in the earlier scriptures also. صُحُفِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَمُوسَى. The scriptures of Ibrahim alayhi salam and Musa alayhi salam. So again, the ulama mention the different religions, let's say, or adyan, deens, or whatever you want to call them. Okay? Even though they differ in the daily actions, the core and foundations of the religions are the same. Or originally they were the same. In every heavenly divine religion from Allah, all the core is the same. So what's the same? You have to purify yourself from disbelief. And then you have to remember Allah abundantly, attain the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and by that love being attained, you will offer prayer. Any action which means the obedience of Allah, you will offer it to Allah. Yeah? And then every religion would say that there is a hereafter, and it is better and everlasting than this lowly world. So that core message was revealed to every prophet. And Allah here chose two prominent prophets. One is Ibrahim alayhi salam, the forefather of all religions. And the second is Musa alayhi salam, who is attributed to the Banu Israel. بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى إن هذا لفي الصحف الأولى صحف إبراهيم وموسى. So this is a core theme in every religion which was revealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So again, going back to the core message of today, is when we have a choice. Choose this lowly world, which is incomplete, full of issues, full of problems, and we want temporary happiness, or we choose eternal happiness. Every joy in this world is not forbidden, but every joy which will deprive a person from obeying Allah, that is forbidden. Every joy which deprives us from obeying Allah is forbidden. Otherwise, a lot of joys Allah has made permissible. Many joys Allah has made permissible. So stick to those enjoyments, joys which are permissible. At the same time, obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The permissible joys, don't let us distract them. Even though they are permissible, don't let us distract them from the times where we have to obey Allah. And then that way we will enjoy this world, we will enjoy worshipping Allah, and inshallah we will enjoy the akhirah also, which is khayrun wa abqa. So it is to find a balance. It is to find a balance that Allah's obedience is the most important. The akhirah is more better and everlasting than this world, but I also have to live through this world. But in this world I obey Allah, I enjoy myself and let my family enjoy, but at the same time keep on track. At the same time keep on track. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us tawfiq. Subhanallah bihamdihi subhanahu.